Hello.
I think you should be good to go at 10:30, Matthew.
Okay. So if I click on it's just the screen thing, just shares the screen, like the
Yep, that should
computer
be
account.
it. I'm gonna sit back, and if you need anything, I'll be here. All right.
Okay. Can the viewers like post in the chat?
I'm kind of new to this too, so
Okay.
I think if you open up the side panel, which you can find at the top right corner of the screen, there's an arrow and a bar over your initials. If you click that, it'll open up like a chat area. Yeah, I see
Okay.
Cameron just sent test message.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. I just figured it would be helpful in case anybody got like any confusion. Let me put the slides in here really quick.
Hey Matthew, whenever you're ready,
Okay.
you're good to go.
I'm just gonna post the Google Drive really quickly.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so the link I just posted is a link to some slides if it helps to follow along. If we don't get through everything in the workshop, because there's a chance that we won't, it should have everything up to at least the modeling, and then or at least through the shading, and it should also have the Blender file. So if anybody wants to use it in I know somebody else is doing a presentation with 3.js where you can implement like what we do here in like other projects. So if we don't get through everything, you can use that for the 3.js presentation. But okay, anyways, I'll go ahead and get started. Okay, just share my screen really quick. Can everyone see my screen? Well, that should be. Okay, cool. So So why would we want to use Blender? It's great for a lot of different like 3D projects. So like animated movies, like video games, simulations. It can only be used for modeling, texturing, or animation. Though there's other softwares you might want to use for texturing. It can also be used for 2D animation as well, but that's like a um, different topic. Oh yeah, and it's free as opposed to other software. So yeah, the first thing you're gonna want to do is download Blender. So if you just quick Google search for Blender, should be the first site that pops up, and then just click download Blender, and it should be able to download. I'll give everybody a couple of minutes to do that. Also, I might be going kind of fast, so and I might not have a lot of time to check the chat. So if I think you should be able to, if you can communicate via the mic, feel free to like interrupt me at any point in time if there's a question that you have. Can they use their microphones?
Hello.
It's limited to, I think, a certain number of people in the room that can use the mic. So it's probably easiest if people stick to the chat. But if someone wants to, they can request them. I can add them to the room, but I just can't guarantee that everyone can do that.
Okay. I'll try to check the chat periodically then, to make sure that there's not too many questions. Okay, so does pretty much everyone have the Blender downloaded? Okay. So go ahead and open up Blender. The first thing you're gonna want to create like a new general file. And the first thing we're gonna cover, because it's a little bit confusing, is just animation, or not animation. First thing we're gonna cover is like general movement in Blender. So there are two ways of moving in Blender. There's if you have a mouse, it's a fair bit easier because you can just use the middle mouse wheel. If you don't have a mouse, there's a way to do it as well. So like, don't worry about it if you don't have a mouse. It's just a little bit like more tedious to do. So if you have a mouse, the way you would move around is you click the middle mouse wheel and hold down to scroll around. Use, I think it's, yeah, shift plus middle mouse wheel to move back and forth. And then just scroll up and down to zoom in and out. If you don't have a mouse, then you can still move around, but it's a little bit more tricky. You just click on, with your touchpad, you would click the XYZ coordinates in the top right corner to rotate it around. So see, my mouse is over here. If I click on these, I can drag it around to rotate. You click on the magnifying glass to zoom in and zoom out. And then you just like move your mouse up and down. And then just click on the hand to move around like with your camera. So does everyone have like a general gist of like how to move around? Like, are you guys all comfortable moving around in Blender? Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So the first thing we're going to want to do is there's this cube over here. We're not going to be using it, so we're just going to go ahead and delete it. So if you right click on delete, delete the starting cube. And after that, we're going to add a sphere. So to do that, you go in this panel over here, you click Add, Mesh, UV Sphere. Okay. So now that we have this sphere, we're going to want to change our mode because we're going to want to edit the geometry of the sphere. So we're going to switch over from object mode to edit mode. And then you should see like all these points on the sphere. And these are what are called vertices. Basically, you can like change them around and it will change the geometry of the sphere and make it not quite a sphere because we want it to be not quite a sphere. But was everyone able to get a sphere in like edit mode? Okay. Which part do you want me to repeat? Okay, so like adding the sphere, you could just so I'll just go ahead and delete this really quickly. Switch back to object mode. So if you go to add, mesh, and then hover down to UV sphere. So add mesh UV sphere. It should add sphere. And then you want to switch from object mode to edit mode because we're going to be editing the geometry. Okay. So it's going to start off a little bit confusing, but it will make sense in a bit. So this is just for ease of navigation, but you can click on any of these circles over here to switch the viewport. So right now I'm viewing it from the looking at like the X plane. If I click on this view over here, I'll be looking at it from the Y plane. If I click on this view, I'll be looking at it from the Z plane. I want to look at it from the X plane just because that's the way I want to look at it right now. So because it's going to help us in a bit. So the first thing you want to do is we're going to add 2 loop cuts. So a loop cut is basically it like cuts the item in half. So like it's going to cut between the vertice, like the middle vertices over here, and the vertices one line below it, and we're going to cut between the middle vertices over here and the vertices just above it. That's to get like the like divot in the Pokeball so that you can have it like curve inwards a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 2 loop cuts, one over here and one over here. And it's going to get a little bit confusing. So I'm just going to make sure everybody has loop cuts. Yeah, if you press shift in the middle mouse button, you can move your camera around. Alternatively, if you don't have a mouse, you just click on the hand thing, and this will move the view as well. So was everyone able to get 2 loop cuts, one above and one below? Or does like anybody need any clarification on that? Okay. So this next part is also going to be a little bit, it's going to get like a little bit confusing. So there's this mode, we want to toggle X-ray. So what this is going to do is this is going to let us select, actually first, you want to make sure you click select box over here so that we're actually selecting points and not just trying to make more loop cuts because we only want 2 loop cuts. So you want to click select box so that we're changing back to the selection. Oh, I should have said this at the beginning, but if at any point you make a mistake, Control Z is undo. Control Shift Z is redo. It's very helpful. But if you if at any point you need to do that, but we want to change this to select box because we're about to select a bunch of points, and then to make it easier to select our points that we want to select, I'm going to click this button that says Toggle X-Ray, and this will let us select points that are like behind. So like if we don't click this and we try to select all these points over here, what it's going to do is it's going to select them all from this side of the sphere, and it will look like it selected them all. But if we scroll around, you'll see that half the points aren't selected. So if we go back to this and we click Toggle X-Ray first, and then we do this, you'll see that all the points around the entire sphere are selected. So that's why we toggle X-Ray first. So you're going to select pretty much the middle 3 rows, and then you're going to scale them down a bit. So there's not really like a magic number for this, but we're just going to scale. Oh, I'm sorry. I should specify how we're scaling. So if you just press S on your keyboard, it will scale the selected vertices, and then we just want to scale them down a bit. So probably about here is good. Is there any questions? Because I know this part's a little bit confusing. Is there a side button instead of pressing S? I think there is. Yeah, it's right over here. So if you click this button, I think, wait, hold on. And then if you do, I think this might only let you scale along axes. Yeah, this is only letting you scale along axes. So maybe if you click, yeah. So if you click, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, if you click, if you don't have a keyboard or are unable to use your S key, click on the scale thing over here, and then you can click anywhere except for the axes. Don't click the axes because that will scale along the axes, and it'll end up with like a weird shape. We don't want that. Alternatively, you can just press S on your keyboard and then drag it in a bit, and it should do the same thing. Okay. So now we're going to, I want all these selected. So we're going to keep all these selected, and then we're going to scale it along the Z-axis because it's a little bit short. So something like this. And to scale along the Z-axis, my bad. To scale along the Z-axis, you just press S, Z, and then scale it up. Or alternatively, you can press the scale button over here, and then grab the blue axis, and it will scale along the Z-axis. So something like this. Okay. Is everyone good up to this point? Any questions? Okay. All right. So this is another part where you're going to want to have Control Z ready because it can be difficult to select it if you misclick. But we're going to add a cylinder. This is going to be our button for the Pokeball. And you just want to scale it down to like about 1/10 of the size. You can kind of like guess. You can kind of just like, no, not 1/10, 2/10, my bad. To about 2/10 to maybe a quarter of the size. So you can kind of eyeball it. Like there's an X, Y, and Z in the top left corner. Or alternatively, you can just S.2, S.2, and that will scale it to a fifth of it. I'm not sure if there's a way to do this with the scale key. And if you do 0.2, no. I think you just kind of have to eyeball it if you do that, which is fine. It doesn't have to be like too precise, but that's about how much you want to scale it. Anyways, so after you scale that, you're going to want to make sure that you still have everything selected. So if this happens, just press Control D because it's a lot easier than selecting just the vertices from the cylinder. And now you're going to want to rotate it. I'm going to stay in X-axis for now. So we're going to rotate. So to rotate, you can do two ways of doing it. You can either do rotate over here, in which case you would grab it along the circle and rotate it along the circle. I don't recommend doing it this way because it's hard to do it exactly 90 degrees. So I would just recommend doing R. Just press R 90, and that will rotate it 90 degrees. Yeah, and then we're going to want to move it to like the outside of the Pokeball. So you can either click the move bar and then click the green arrow to move it to the outside of the Pokeball and just ballpark it like right about there. Or you can do like G, Y, and then it'll move it along the y-axis. And I would say like 1. Well, no, not 1.8 is about where you would want it. And you should now have a button on the side of the Pokeball. And then to switch, you just click select box. So does everyone have like a button on their outside of the Pokeball? Or does anyone have any questions? Are we all good? Okay. So after this, yeah. Okay. So now that we have the button on side of the ball, we're going to want to extrude the frontmost face. So to do this, we're going to start by toggling X-ray again. This time we're going to turn it off. This is so to make it easier to select just one face. So we're going to click toggle X-ray. That's going to turn off X-ray. So now we don't have to worry about that because it can be a bit annoying when you're trying to select like something on the outside of a geometry because you don't want to select like everything at once. But right now we have it on point select, but we want to select this face over here. It's easier to do that if you just change it to face select because we can select either by points, which is what we have now, by edges, which is what we have now. So if I like click over here, you'll see that it grabs like the edge. Or we can select by faces, which is what we want to do. And we want to select this frontmost face of the Pokeball because next we're going to be doing an extrusion. Okay, so to do an extrusion, we're going to want to click this face, and then there's two ways to extrude. You can either click extrude region right here, and then grab the plus, and you're going to want to put it about 0.05. So like right about here. That's one way of doing it. Alternatively, the way I prefer to do it is I just press E on the keyboard. It's going to automatically grab it to the normal, but if it didn't, you could just press like, I think this is the X, obviously the Y. And the only thing, if you do press the Y button, make sure that you do it along the global Y, not the local Y, because if you do it along the local normal Y, it's going to give you like weird behavior. So you want it to be around the global Y and then just 0.05. So now you should have like something that looks like this with like a little bit over here. So does everyone have that? Enter the numbers. Okay, so for I'm not sure how you enter the numbers if you do this region. You just kind of have to eyeball it in that case. There's a measurement on the top left corner that'll say like D. So right now it says D 0.1374. I would say it's best if you put it around somewhere around 0.05. So like maybe around here is fine. And the way you drag it is you just press like the plus button. I'm not sure, you might be able to just press .05. Yeah, I think you can still do that. But you basically you would click it, extrude, and then so E like maybe this way, and then you just press the number that you want to extrude. So if I wanted to extrude it 1, I would just press 1. But I don't want to extrude it 1, so I would extrude it 0.05, and it'll extrude 0.05. Does that make sense? Yeah, so if you press E, you just press, if you want to change the axis, which you totally do not have to for this, you would just press the axis, you would just press E, then the axis that you want to do, then the distance that you want to extrude it. You don't even have to bother pressing an axis though, you can just press E and then just press a number. So I did like E 0.05. Any other questions? Oh yeah. Okay, hold on. So if you do E, if you look in the top left corner, you'll see something that says D : -0 meters, and then it'll have in parentheses how far you're extruding it out. So if I start typing 0.05 and you look in the top left corner, you'll notice that it says D like : and then like absolute value of 0.05 or something like that equals 5 centimeters. So it's extruding at 0.05 meters normal. If I change that to like 1, it would be 0.1. This would be like 10 centimeters or 0.1 meter normal. Does that make sense? Or okay, cool. So now the last step in terms of modeling, we just scale this face down. So just either S on the keyboard or scale, either or, it doesn't matter. I'll just use the scale thing because I've been doing the key press most of the time. And we want it to be about 0.9, just because that's about what looks good. There's no other rhyme or reason to it. And that's about where we have it. And that's it for the modeling portion. Does everyone have like at least the model for the Pokeball? Okay, cool. So now we're going to start covering texturing. So the first thing we're going to want to do is, right now we have it on viewport shading, but this doesn't show us color. So this shows us the surfaces of the geometry. It doesn't show us any like color though. And we want to have color because it's kind of useful to have a color to color the Pokeball. So we're going to start by clicking viewport shading. And it might be a little bit laggy. And you'll notice that the Pokeball is, I mean, it's all white. So it's kind of cool, but like we want it to be like the traditional Pokeball colors, you know, like red on top, black in the middle, white on the button, and then white on the bottom as well. So we're going to start by painting it black. And basically the reason we're doing it this way is just because it makes it easier to select the faces that we want to select. It's just easier to select faces this way, but you could do it another way, or like another way, but this is just the most efficient. So we're going to start by painting the Pokeball black. So the way we would do this is there's a material properties tab down at the bottom of like this panel. So it's like the circle with like a checkerboard pattern on it. So you click on that, and you'll notice that we don't have any materials right now. To add a new material, we add a new material slot. Then we, by clicking this plus button over here, this is kind of important because it'll be, you don't have to do it for the first material, but you're going to have to do it for every subsequent material. So click the add new material slot, new material, and you'll notice that we get this material 001, and we get all these menu settings. We're only going to change, there's a bunch of stuff you can do with this. You can change it, like make it more specular, more metallic and stuff like that. We're just going to be changing the color. We're going to keep it like simple. So does everyone have if the first thing you're going to want to do is, I don't think you even have to really do this because it's just going to do it by default, but you're just going to grab the base color and we're just going to paint the entire thing black. So if we just drag the shader all the way down, the entire Pokeball should be black. So does everyone have a black Pokeball? How do you get to Viewport Shading again? Okay, so there's like 4 circles in the top right. This is Viewport Shading. I think, yeah, it's a little confusing because they're both called Viewport Shading, but it's the third circle, the one with like the checkerboard. So you just click on, if you see like the full circle, we want the one with like the checkerboard. I think there's a keyboard shortcut for it as well, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. I guess it's material preview. My bad. And this one's called solid. This one, it should be method to display objects in the 3D view. It should say material preview. Okay, so now it's kind of boring to just have a black Pokeball. So we're gonna have let's add a second color. I guess the first one would be to add white. So just go ahead and click this. We're gonna click new material, and we already have it as white. So now we want to select the bottom faces of the Pokeball. So this is where there's another selection tool that might be helpful here. If I want to click, like, let's say I want to click, switch to, make sure you have select box selected first. Let's say I wanted to click this face and this face, but nothing else. I could click this face, hold down shift, and then click this face, and it would let you select multiple faces at the same time. So like if I wanted to select, we're going to paint this portion black or this portion white, and then we're going to paint the bottom half white. So to do that, it'd be easy to just click this button, go to the toggle X-ray, and then just hold down shift, and then select all these bottom faces. And then you should be able to paint them all white at once. So does everyone have those faces selected? They should be highlighted in orange. Okay, cool. So now all we have to do is we go to material, switch to material 2, and since we've already created it, we just click assign. And this button right here, sometimes I forget that this is the button, so just make sure you click that button. And then I think you also want to select these faces down here. I don't think it matters that much, but it makes it look a little bit nicer if you select these faces over here. So to do that, you just do like grab these, shift click, drag, grab these, then shift click. Oh no, you want to turn off X-ray for that. So grab these, shift click, grab these. Then you want to turn off X-ray. So toggle X-ray again, shift click, shift click, and that's like a fast way to grab the bottom row, and then just probably assign these to white as well. It makes it look a little bit nicer in the end. You don't have to do it at all though. It'll still look good even if you have the other one. So okay, so now that we have those selected, we want to make the top half of the Pokeball red because that's just kind of how it is. So you're gonna do the same thing we did before. Add a new material slot. Add a new material. I guess first I should ask: does everyone have like the bottom half white as well? Yes, the button should also be white. But you can, if it isn't white right now, you can just turn off X-ray, click on the face, and then just so like let's say the button was black, or we wanted to change it back to black. We just click the one face, click assign, and then we can just change it back by switching materials and then clicking assign. So if you don't have to select them all at once. I'm just doing it like this because it's a little bit easier to do it like that. You also don't have to do the shift click thing. Like that's totally optional. I'm just doing it because it's kind of convenient. So is everyone good up to this point? Okay, sounds good. Okay, so for the top part, hold on, oh, my bad. So for the top part, we're gonna create a new material. So let's say we didn't have this, or we'll just I'm just gonna delete this really quick. Yeah. I mean, there's a way to delete the material. I don't remember how to do it off the top of my head. But we're just going to create a new material because we can. So you just click, you just click plus. That'll add a new material slot. Then you click new to add a new material, or we can select a material here. So you guys should have like material 1, 2, and 3. Don't select material 1 or 2 because we already selected them for other stuff. I'm just going to leave it at material 4 because it doesn't really matter. But you just want to change this to red. So just grab the base color and then just pull this middle mouse wheel over down to like red. And that's good enough shade of red. We can also change it to like any color we wanted. So if we wanted it to be like blue or something, we could do that as well. And now we're just going to do the same thing we did before, except with the top faces and not the button. So we're just going to grab toggle the X-ray, select all these faces on top, and then click assign, and then they should all be red. And then I'm going to do this part with this part over here, but as you can see, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. It just makes it look a little bit better. So these faces, and then toggle X-ray to click these two. Go ahead, switch it to material 4, click assign, and there you go. So does anyone have any questions on that last part? Okay, cool. So this is just another minor thing that doesn't really matter that much, but it can make it look a little bit better. Just if you're just looking at it, I guess. So you can switch from edit mode to object mode. And then if you right click and go click on shade smooth, it'll look like a little bit less, because if you have it shaded flat, it looks kind of like geometric and weird. But if you go shade smooth, then it looks like an actual wall. So yeah, that's just something else you can do that's like minor. That helps a little bit. It makes it look a little bit better, at least in my opinion. So yeah, I don't think we have enough time to cover the animation. But basically, what you would do for that, it's in the Blender file that I provided at the beginning of it's in the Google Docs, or the not Google Docs, the Google Drive. There should be a Blender file that has this already. But basically, if you wanted to animate it, you would just go back to the object properties, and then you can add what are called keyframes. And so like we would want to keep it like this for like the first keyframe, and then like say we wanted to have like a rocking animation, we would just like rotate the item. So like just drag this like 30 degrees. Well, not this axis, it would be like this axis to make it start like rocking back and forth like it's capturing a Pokeball or something. So you could do like that. And then, but like we don't really have time to do that because there's only like 5 minutes left. But how do I get Blender to treat the button of the sphere as the same object? Yeah, it should be the same entity, but if it isn't the same entity, like, okay, let's say we wanted to add a cube to this just because we wanted to add a cube to us. There's no real reason why we would want to do this, but we're just going to do it just for the sake of example. But if they aren't for some reason, you can click on the you can click on the cylinder, click on the ball, and then hit join, and I think that makes it the same object. So if I go to edit mode and I click on vertice mode, yeah, you'll see that there's like vertices mode. There's like vertices showing from the cube. And if we click on like face mode, it was shaded black by default, but we can just like, I don't know, change this to white. There's no reason why you would want to do this, there's no reason why you would want to add a cube. There is a reason why you would want to add objects and then have them join. But if you're struggling to get the cylinder to be as the same object, it should have been added in edit mode because you can do that. But you would just click like join the two objects. No problem. Okay, so I guess this pretty much is like what's covered in the slides. Just doing like the process of doing this. So I guess some plugs. If you enjoyed like modeling, this is actually, I think this is based off of like the first lab for computer aided modeling. So there's actually 2 courses in Blender at UF. There's computer aided modeling and then computer aided animation. The modeling class is more similar to what we did with this. The animation class covers like the keyframe animation. So if you wanted to make this like rock back and forth, that would be like the most simple type of animation is just the keyframe animation. It also covers like the different principles of animation. They're both taught by Dr. Zhang, who's like amazing. So if this is something that you're interested in, absolutely go take one of our classes. And then the 3.js presentation is being given by somebody who's a member of the UF Game Developers Association. So they generally work with, I think they generally work with like Blender and like how you could implement something like this in like a video game. And then I'm just a member of UF's Association of Computer Engineers who liked Blender. So yeah, and then don't forget if you want to see more of what you can do with this type of thing in Blender. I forgot to put it in the slides, but there's a 3.js presentation that will be covering how you would add something like this or add like the animation, like the Pokeball with the animation to like a website or like a video game or something like that, like how to treat Blender files as like files in another project. So any good Blender tutorial. I mean, honestly, just looking up, like pretty much you can look up anything on YouTube. Like there are a couple of things that I think the most common one is like a lot of people will look up how to, yeah, there's a ton on YouTube. A lot of people will look up how to make like a donut. I think that's like the most common beginner thing. I don't think we ever made a donut in the class, but that's like a really common one. Yeah, there's a 3.js workshop. Oh yeah, sorry, it's tomorrow at 3. But that covers, like, I believe I talked to the guy who's doing it, and he said that it covers like how you would use it in other projects as well. So, any questions or? Do we get an event ID? I'm not entirely sure about that. Like, I'm not sure how that works. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much all I had. Yeah, of course. Have a nice day, or have fun. Happy hacking, or hope you do well on like whichever one of your projects. Thanks. Oh yeah, if anybody wants the event ID, it was just posted in the chat. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, everyone, if you're looking to submit the event, if you're looking in the chat, there's an error table that Alex just sent in that you can use to submit it. Also, details are on the backer guide with send a link to in chat right now. Everybody thank you. If there's anything else Matthew's going to be able to share, we'll stay longer if anybody has any last second questions. Everybody, go ahead and you can adjust everything that we can get.
Okay, if nobody has any questions, I'm probably gonna head out now. Hope you guys have fun. Bye.